The past, the present, the future. This is Friday Night's Fright. What the planet is listening to.
Today on Shudder Mania, the first entry, a little movie called Teeth, where high schooler Dawn learns she's living proof of the vagina dentata myth. Hakuna Matata. So I just finished Teeth, and this seems to be quite a fitting movie to start Shudder Mania 2019. I should add the precursor. I've watched this movie a fair few times over years. Quite watchable. Haven't seen it properly in a couple of years, and this was my first real rewatching of it, and I thought it was pretty good. That's essentially just, if you don't want any spoilers, it's pretty good. I would sort of recommend it because I think it's interesting and think to a degree it has things to say, and I like horror movies which try and have something to say, even though it doesn't necessarily have the most insightful commentary. It's about something more than some of its parts, so that's recommended. The lead performance by Jess Wexler, I'm not sure how you pronounce the name, is fantastic, and actually, to be honest, that's probably the main problem with the movie. They've cast someone in role of Dawn, the female high school protagonist, who is fantastic and really good and delivers a really consistent performance, which doesn't quite mesh with the rest of the movie. That's not her fault, it's a tonal issue. The directors and writers aren't entirely sure what sort of movie they're trying to make. It's potentially in hands of someone like David Cronenberg, this could have been a really good, serious, sparse movie about a specific issue, in this case the vagina dentata. Someone like Cronenberg could have narrowed it down and kept it to be quite concise, and here they've done kind of the opposite, because despite the fact that it's an hour and 34 minutes long, hour 27 before you get to your end credits, a lot of this movie feels, I won't say superfluous, but it feels like tonally there's a lot of issues here. They weren't entirely sure what movie they're making. There's a lot of B-movie allusions to this, as exemplified by Dawn watching B-movies on TV. And in some ways this feels like an attempt to make a grown-up version of those stories, but at the same time this movie is quite goofy. Don't want spoilers, I would move it. I would stop listening now until 9th minute, and then you carry on listening. But just what my general view of the movie is, pretty good. And now spoilers can begin. So fundamental flaw of this movie is, as I've said, tonally it's not sure what it's trying to be. There's a lot of goofy elements, as it's exemplified by the ridiculously over the top reactions of the many of men when they get their dicks bitten off, and that's the other thing. Like, it's dealing with something which could go to be inherently goofy or inherently interesting, because the myth and all of that, the idea of female sexuality being repressed and coming out in an external way such as this is quite interesting. That's an interesting dynamic you could have portrayed, and the lead performance is going to that way, but movie tonally is bouncing everywhere. The concept is very dark, though. Like, the concept, essentially, this woman is... countless men try to, and in some cases do actually rape her throughout the course of the movie, and the vagina dentata is like a defense mechanism. That's dark shit. That doesn't really mesh with the amount of jokes and goofiness in this movie. Maybe they're trying to add some levity to it, I don't know. You can have jokes, but in this case, it feels like the mood whiplash is all over the place. It's a common complaint about movies like Suicide Squad, that they whiplash, but in this case, it's particularly bad, because this is literally a movie dealing with this woman's first sexual experience is rape. Twice, multiple times, with her brother when she's a kid, when he sticks his finger in her vagina and it gets bit, with the boy by the waterfall, who actually does rape her, and then gets bit off. And with the doctor in one of the weird scenes, like the bits where he showed the aftermath and the operations, and they're all being a bit jokey, those should not have been in the movie at all. Like, I know you could have possibly said, but what about exploring the aftermath? But having those scenes feels dramatically poor, a really bad choice. Maybe they're struggling to get to the proper running time without those scenes, but you could have cut 7 minutes out of this movie. You could have had a really tight, condensed hour 20 movie. I also think that some writing choices are a bit off, like the Puritanical Club, the cult. You know, having them be such a big part of the first half movie and then disappear. Same with Dawn's friends, they disappear. And it's sort of like, why would you have them such big parts of the movie if they weren't going to be in it after the halfway mark? It screams having a couple of drafts and then making a movie, not really harnessing. You should never spend forever on writing a movie. You always have to stop at some point, but you should only stop when you've got a tight structure, and this structure isn't. The other fact is that really grates me is just the general nature of it. This movie feels like, and this ending spoilers by the way, but you shouldn't be listening to it, won't be spoiled. The movie feels like it's a loose origin story for a horror movie monster. You know, you've got the power plants in the background, which are very, very fucking close to the house, and that I'm assuming that's not actually how close they are. No, it's sort of a visual identification, like we need to have them be as close so you can make a connection, although if they're in distance you can make a connection too. But it feels like in a lot of ways, time back to horror movies they show on TV, that the movie is portraying Dawn as a horror movie monster of some kind, but at the same time I don't think she really fits that category, because all of these guys, they kind of deserve what they get. Like, she says no, and they continue, so, like, I have no sympathy for them. So if it's going from morally grey thing, that's fine. But, I don't know, it's like someone thought about taking those old horror movie ideas and giving them a fresh, grown-up uprooting, I guess, but it doesn't really work the way they intended. I think it's a shame, because Jess Waits those really, really, like, genuinely really good. This is a particularly good horror movie performance, but she's let down by a lot of the crap going on in between. And the other thing, I know Power Plants there is this sort of homage to that George Romero thing of, like, from Night of the Living Dead, where he talked about comics coming from space and all of that and going, oh, it may be this, it may not, but that's bizarre, having the Power Plants play such a big part of issuing the movie, because you just stop when you see them. You stop, and it's that thing of, wouldn't this be an issue? Wouldn't they already suspect that maybe they shouldn't live there? It's weird. It's very distracting visually to see power plants in the background, because it automatically makes me ask a lot of questions I wouldn't normally ask. If they're further away, you go, well, they're not that close, but you put them that close. So obviously now I'm thinking, why wouldn't characters find that strange? You know? And also, like, wouldn't the mother sue the power plant companies? Because she's clearly got some kind of cancer that probably is caused by that. I don't know, it feels like a brave attempt and a watchable horror movie. You know, a brave attempt at doing something different that doesn't entirely succeed. I feel it's definitely one of those movies where the lead performance anchors it, but at the same time wish she had more to work with. I think the male acting in this movie ranges from poor to really, really awful. Like the guy at the end who's old guy at the end who's licking his lips and is giving Dawn the rapey eyes. That's terrible. That's so bad. That's like some of the worst acting in a horror movie I've seen in years, and I'm guessing it's not the actor's fault. He was told to do that, but so totally poor. And it's just, I also think, and I'm not against, like, men being portrayed as arseholes in horror movies, because we are arseholes to a large degree of time, but it's almost cartoonish in this one. Like, the one male character who's reasonable, the father, is like a reformed sex addict, it looks like. and he's a saint now, and it feels like they realised that all the other male characters were scumbags, so you had to have one who was okay, but they went too far the other extreme. I also think, and I'll keep saying this, that the promise cult, that should have come in play later on. You can't build something like that up so much and drop it, because that screams a drop plot thread, and it really takes me out of the movie. But I did think this is a good start to Shudder Mania. I enjoyed watching it. Recommend it? I mean, it's different, it's unique, it's trying to do something interesting, not entirely succeeding, but it's trying. But yeah, I'd say it's a decent start to Shudder Mania. Next up is probably The Devil's Reject, which will go up tomorrow, May 2nd. This is being recorded on April 22nd, so, Devil's Reject, never seen it. Being told Rob Zombie makes weird movies, which is cool, because I've seen Halloween, but this one of its own movies, which no studio telling them what to do, so it should be particularly strange. So I'll be back Devil's Reject tomorrow, and hope you guys enjoy it, and remember, life is beautiful.
The past. The future. This is Friday Night's Fright. What the planet is listening to.
Hello, this is Ian Austin. This is Friday Night Fright, and welcome to day 2 of Shudder Mania 2019. Today's movie, The Devil's Rejects. A family of murderous maniacs are pursued by a violent sheriff in Rob Zombie's brutal sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses, which I have not watched. When the Fireflies' home is raided, 3 members escape. Who are the Fireflies? Enraged over the murder of his brother, Sheriff Whittle has bounty hunters track clan down, leading mayhem and murder across state lines. Why not? Eager to improve on his malign debut, which I have not seen, Zombie enlisted the greatest horror icons of all time, including Karen Black, Danny Trejo, and Ken Foree, and an ace documentary cameraman to bring fury and precision to a screwed up story. Essential Zombie contains strong language, sexual scenes, violence, and gore. I am not very convinced, but this is Shudder Mania Day 2, and I'm going to be watching the movie after and doing a recap review of it after a sponsors section. So I'll see you in a few minutes or minute. Oh, you guys, I just watched The Devil's Reject, and what a great practical joke you guys all played on me. This movie doesn't exist, right? This was a fake. Someone put a lot of effort into making a fake movie, because whoever it was, you've succeeded. You've done an amazing job, because this can't be real. This can't be an actual movie. It can't be a sequel to another movie. Like, it's a parody. You've made a parody. Someone made a full-length parody with a bunch of actual actors and Rob Zombie's wife, and got licenses to... It's an actual movie, isn't it? Oh, God. I can't even keep this up. This was, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst movie I have ever seen in my life. What the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck? That's all you can really say about this movie. I can't go in spoilers, so I have no idea what happened in this movie. It's just gibberish. In every conceivable regard, this movie is gibberish. It doesn't make any sense. Even if it could make sense, it would make sense. It is a love letter to movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it's a love letter by someone who doesn't understand movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because here's the truth. Rob Zombie, I'm going to appeal to your bare nature. We're not meant to root for Leatherface and his family. We're not meant to root for them. That's the entire point of the movie. We're meant to root for the teenagers. They might have flat characterization. They might not be very good actors. But we're not meant to want to see them be beaten to death and eaten. Even Franklin with wheelchair. I might poke fun at him. People I've watched it with, we might poke fun at Franklin. We don't want him to get eaten. And even if we did, say we did, right? Say we were rooting for the Devil's Rejects, and by the way, Rob Zombie, that's not how you should say the title. And if you're going for a creative flourish like Quentin Tarantino, you've chosen the wrong person to hitch your horse to. That's all I'm saying. But here's the thing, Rob Zombie, if we're meant to root for your characters, make them likeable. Some small way, make them likeable. Because I think what he's going for here, is they're bad, but cops are also bad. I think that's what he's going for. But here's the thing, Rob Zombie, if that's what you're going for, quick bit of advice, don't have your main characters be unrepenting rapists. I'm just saying, it's kind of hard to think, whoa, they're the lesser evil, when they're literally raping people. Like, what's he thinking? Seriously. Like, I've no idea what logic he has, because, firstly, Mrs. Zombie can't act. I'm just going to say it, she can't act. She's a terrible actress. And that's fine, that happens, you know. But at least if she's terrible, work with her. Like, this is like, what, the third movie he's made with her? Like, know what she can and can't do. Like, you know, I hate to sound cruel, but this was really bad. Like, I feel dumber for watching this. I feel like part of my soul, part of my enjoyment of cinema has been destroyed. I really feel that way. I feel like it's an hour 50. It felt like it was 4 hours long. There were 4 points it could have ended, and I wish it had ended, and then continued. You've got a bunch of exploitation actors like Sid Haig and Ken Foree, and I've no idea why they're in this movie. I've no idea. I mean, maybe they thought it would be a career reinvention. Maybe Rob Zombie is the nicest man on the planet. Can't make a movie, but maybe he's a nice guy. Maybe he's convincing. Maybe he's a snout salesman. I don't know, but all I know is he can't make a movie. I mean, yes, this is a movie in virtue of it's being finished and it's been put on Shudder, but that's not necessarily a sign of quality. It's finished, it's on Shudder, it's been released, everyone got paid, I presume, or shared in profits or whatever. So in that regard, it is a movie, but at the same time, it's not a movie, because this is just a bunch of shit thrown together. It's exactly what we criticise movies like Justice League and Batman vs Superman for, in that it's not a movie, it's a bunch of scenes thrown together. It's Rob Zombie's greatest hits from a horror movie, but it doesn't have a plot. And I'm sure some of you are saying, Ian, if you watch House of Thousand Corpses, you'd understand what's going on. To which, I'm not fucking watching House of Thousand Corpses. I'm not fucking watching that. I never want to watch that. I found this on Shudder, so I'm adding it to Shudder Mania, but oh my god, so bad. Like, let's start with the visuals, okay, shall we? Visuals in a movie are meant to tell a story. You're not meant to watch them and be thinking, I don't know what's going on. You know? They're meant to tell a story. Okay, so this movie has no plot. Fair enough. You know, the idea behind it is cops chasing Devil's Rejects. Cops are evil, Devil's Rejects are evil, and they're going to have a collision at some point. That's fine. You can work a bit of that, but the visuals don't tell the story. You're meant to be telling the story using visuals. Rob Zombie's not doing that. It's like he's in love with as many gimmicky cinematic visual constructs as possible, but he doesn't understand how to use them. For example, I was watching Wolf of Wall Street earlier on, and that movie has so many scenes which aren't shot in a very fancy way, knowingly, because Martin Scorsese knows that you have to be able to follow what's going on. Rob Zombie doesn't care about us following what's going on. He just wants to make a movie which feels like it's, I don't know, maybe a movie that feels like his music. I don't know, I don't listen to his fucking music. You know, and look, I'll put it this way. I respect Rob Zombie for making it. Clearly he thought, horror isn't what I want it to be, so I'm going to make a movie. It's fair enough, you know, and then make a couple more movies and make him profit, and then they give him Halloween, and it's sort of like, fair enough, you know, if they're going to give you money to make movies, then make movies. All I'd say is make good movies. This is shit. This is really shit, and normally I feel bad for saying that. I'm like, no, I don't in this case, this is rubbish. Like, this is actually rubbish. Like, You have a cast, except for Mrs. Zombie, of people who can act. And you give them nothing. You give them absolutely nothing. The characters are the same at the end as they are at the beginning. And I know it probably shrug off as like, well, it's a horror movie, who cares? We should all care. You know, I knocked Teeth earlier, but main character and Teeth changed throughout those 90, 100 minutes, whatever. She changed throughout that screen time. She did bad things, but we could relate in a way to her, like her struggle. I can't relate to any of these people, and you don't always have to. You don't have to like main characters in the movie, but you have to be able to form some connection to them. I guess Rob Zombie would argue, oh, it's family, you know, everyone's got family, you know, you'd do anything for your family, but it's just, this isn't played knowingly, you know. When Tarantino wrote Natural Born Killers, there's certain knowing wink wink to it. This isn't played wink wink. This is played straight, which just leads to a lot of incredibly uncomfortable scenes. And but my big bugbear is that this is it's exploitative, but it's not trying to say anything. Like, Wes Craven made a lot of exploitative movies back in the day, but they were trying to say something. This is just... It's just that Sniper Squad 4, where you're not saying anything, you're just making shit. You know? And it's okay, you don't always have to have a message. Sometimes you can make shit. You know? You can just make a movie. It doesn't always have to be about something. But if that's the case, it has to be enjoyable. Michael Bay makes nonsense movies, but stuff like Rock is enjoyable and competently made. This is not competently made. So, hey, Shudder Mania off to a great fucking start, you know? Devil's Reject, I mean, I was critical of Teeth, but compared to fucking Teeth, compared to Devil's Rejects even, Teeth is a fucking masterpiece. Like, Teeth had moved Whiplash, but at least it was trying to play with convention bit. This isn't playing with convention. This is, I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre and I want to make my own version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's it. And that's not bad on the surface, but in the execution, it's horrendous. So, my conclusion, don't watch The Devil's Rejects. Don't watch it. There's no point. It's terrible. It's really bad. If you want to watch a Rob Zombie movie, go watch First Halloween. It's exploitative and nasty, but the last half an hour or so is just a remake of the original Halloween. In fact, don't do that. Don't do that. Just watch Halloween 2 on Shudder. Just watch fucking Halloween 2. Safe to bother. Halloween 2 is not a great movie, but compared to this, it's a masterpiece. So, this is day 2 of Shudder Mania, Devil's Rejects. I hate it. I regret watching it, and I feel I've lost something. But hey, what can you do? I'll be back tomorrow with, I don't know. I have no idea what movie I'll be back with tomorrow, May 3rd. Woodshock, I don't know, something on Shudder. I'll advertise the advance on Twitter. But
the past, the present, the future. This is Friday Night's Fright. What the planet is listening to.
hello, my name's Ian Austin, and welcome to Friday Night Fright Shudder Mania Day 3. And after the rather poor Devil's Rejects, it's time for something slightly more highbrow, hopefully. Woodshock is a hypnotic exploration of isolation, paranoia, and grief that exists in a dream world all its own. Kirsten Dunst stars as Teresa, a haunted young woman spiralling in wake of profound loss, torn between her fractured emotional state and reality-altering effects of potent cannabinoid drug. Immersive, spellbinding, and sublime, which transcends genre to become a singularly thrilling cinematic experience that marks the arrival of the Mulovi siblings' information voicing theme. And reviews are very boring, awful, don't bother, very boring. I wish I'd give the movie less than 1 skull. I won't be high. I didn't watch it because it's all bad for you, so I'm giving it a skull. Skip this, boring. I really won't like this, but Really bad. Why the fuck is this in the ad section? Oh god, so bloody boring. Odd, baffling, boring, off-key, defo make me glad I never took mushrooms or anything that weird shit. Weird. Blah. Slow and dull. I'm really pumped for this movie already, although I should add, I think Kirsten Dunst is a good actress, and after Devil's Rejects, maybe something a bit transcendental is key. Anyway, that'll come up after a sponsor section. And remember, sponsorship makes the podcast go round. So I just watched Woodstock, and here's the thing. I don't entirely disagree with reviews of this movie, because I think some of them, while it's ad extreme, have a certain relevance to them, because this is, for lack of a better term, a glacial movie. Not much plot really, it's more visuals and aesthetic and tone kinda, putting you in character's perspective and then leaving it from there. Very artistic. It's a horror movie of sorts. I don't think it's definitely not a jump scare horror movie, not obviously one, but it's portraying the descent into madness of someone, which can work in a horror term. The description's quite accurate. The haunted young woman spirals in wake of profound loss. I'm not sure exactly what she lost, but something. I mean, Mother was in start of movie, I guess, and not in Jens. Maybe it's that. And basically, she goes, for lack of better term, fucking crazy. Now, on Normans, that might not necessarily be the most entertaining thing. Indeed, parts of the movie are a bit of a slog to sit through, but it's anchored by Kirsten Dunst doing a really good job. She's obviously been upfront in the past about her own issues with her own mental health issues, for lack of a better term. And the movie seems to, I hate to say would benefit from that, but it's being the main character's being portrayed by someone who knows what it's like to go through similar things and is doing a good job. Indeed, this movie could be parlance is depression the movie. And depression using narcotics, which isn't always the smartest thing, because if you've got a lot of anxiety or depression, using things which might amplify your paranoia maybe is not the smartest thing to do. Indeed, whether the fuck she's smoking this movie, it clearly doesn't grab her, because she starts seeing some weird shit. Do I like this movie? That's an interesting question. I don't know. I don't dislike it. I respect what it's trying to do. I respect the intent, and sometimes that's enough. Other times, I don't feel I was high enough for this movie. To be honest, I'm not high at all. I'm not drunk. I did have a bath earlier and all the fumes and shit like that. So, and herbal tea. So I'm a bit happy, well, I was happy, and then watch this. Now I'm fucking, not depressed is the wrong word. But I feel a bit weird, I mean, I don't even know what to fucking say, really. I didn't hate it, I respect it. I think it's, compared to stuff like Devil's Rejects, this might miss the mark, but it's trying for something. You try and fail, my book, that's a good thing. And it is anchored by a really, really, really good performance by Kirsten Dunst, who I think has been unfairly maligned in terms of Hollywood for actually moving from decent, child teen actress to solid adult actress to, holy shit, she's starring in movies like this where it's predominantly just her and moving. It's not like she's given flashy dialogue or anything like that. She's literally given very matter-of-fact dialogue and very unflattering shots and very unflattering characters, and manages to pull it off. It's a very brave performance. I can't say much about the rest of the acting, to be honest. It doesn't really resonate with me at all. It's clearly Kirsten Dunst's show, and the director's shows. There's a lot of interesting visuals going on. I think you can say, it goes back to what I said about Devil's Rejects. On one hand, a plot would be nice, because this didn't have any plot. On the other hand, this has a touch more cinematic verve to it. They're doing a good job of creating an aesthetic, and these aren't characters you particularly warm to either, but you don't wish death upon them, or you don't think that movies try and tell you should like these people. This has a very Martin Scorsese approach to it, where you're not meant to necessarily think, oh, what a likeable character. The movie's not judging characters, but at the same time, they inform your own judgments. Whereas you see something like Devil's Rejects, where the movie is not only judging characters, the movie is worshipping some of the worst human beings to ever be in a movie. Like, you know, it's like you should never have director hero worshipping characters, because that's what makes for an awful movie. It really does. What else can I say about this? It's quite trippy in places. Some of the visuals are very interesting. Sorry, I'm yawning. I'm very tired. I'm very tired, guys. I'm seeing Ventus mode, so I'm quite knackered. I don't think I'm going to get 10 minutes with this episode. I don't mind the movie. I liked it. I thought it was a good attempt at doing something new. I'm always impressed by horror movies which don't go the generic route. Like, generic route would be, oh, she starts tripping, oh, there's something coming, get her on, it's a monster. And this movie doesn't do that, because it's, you know, trying to be a bit better than the average one. It's very art house in that regard. I wouldn't say particularly brilliant art house, but I would say that I respect it, and sometimes respect is quite a good thing for a movie, you know. Other times it's a bit like, you know, oh, I respect you too much to kiss you, or something like that, you know, in terms of, you know, a woman you like, but you respect too much, you know, even though she's into you, you respect too much and don't want to do anything. This, in some ways, it's kind of like that, because I think I don't love this. I don't even know if I necessarily like it, but I respect it. And the only problem with that is that it doesn't make me think I'll want to watch this again. Although, flip side being, there's a lot of stuff in this movie which might benefit from a second watch. I don't know. Those are usually movies that grow on you, you know? You don't necessarily love them first time, but the more you watch them, yeah, you could get into it. And going by Shudder value, I think this is definitely sort of movie should happen more often. Those reviews may have been writing that this was glacial paced and a bit boring at points, but at the same time, you know, a horror platform shouldn't just have wham-bam movies on there. It should have something for everyone, and this is definitely something unique, which puts across Shudder as a different platform, which is good. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting fucking 10 minutes with this. I enjoyed that. That was very watchable. And now to try and figure out what next movie's going to be on Shudder Mania, because, you know, I've watched a attempt at reworking a sort of goofy B movie from 40s. We've watched Devil's Rejects, which was terrible, and now this, which was a bit artistic. So I think best way to follow that up is with Rabies tomorrow. So in theory, on tomorrow's edition of the Shudder Mania 2019, I'll be watching Rabies, which is is Dave Cronenberg? No, it's a Haran Kashaus, and it's a Hebrew movie. Oh, okay. Intriguing. Cool. Wait, tomorrow will be Rabies, I guess. And anyway, regardless of this movie, I wouldn't unrecommend it. I'd recommend it as an experience to watch once. If you were to get high watching it, I would never condone that. Maybe you'd see something I didn't. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you'd be paranoid for years afterwards. That's why I won't say you should do it. But if you did want to do it and wanted to send in your feedback on it, fair enough. Friday Night Fright at Twitter. And available on all the fucking podcast platforms. And we're into Rabies tomorrow. Remember, life is beautiful.
The past, the present, the future. This is Friday Night's Fright. What the planet is listening to.
Hello, this is Ian Austin of Friday Night Fright fame, and it's the 4th episode of Shudder Mania. And this movie today is called Escape from Tomorrow, and is described as a father's trip to Disney with his family turns into a surreal nightmare of no way out. Brilliant. That sounds great. I'm actually genuinely looking forward to watching that, because I have no idea whether this is actually sanctioned by Disney or what. I don't know who Randy Moore is, but it's made in 2013. It's 90 minutes long, and that's definitely a fantastic pitch. The poster shows an image of a familiar white gloved mouse's hands dripping blood, so I'm all in. I will see you in just a few ticks after the allocated bit of sponsorship, and then hope I'll be summarising, reviewing the movie for you. So I'll catch you in just a second. Hey guys, so I just watched Escape from Tomorrow, and I would be honest, I kind of love this movie. By virtue of that, I mean, I don't really understand it. I'm not entirely sure Disney approved it. I'm not sure how it got made. Not sure if it makes any sense, but I kind of loved this. It was strange, surreal, as the thing said, as Cruel said. Strange, surreal, fun, weird, odd, very odd, abstract, kind of artistic at points, but generally just utterly original horror movie, and I don't say that too often. Especially after the first two movies, Teeth and Devil's Rejects, which Teeth is watchable and Devil's Rejects is anything but. But this and Woodshock are both the sort of horror movies I think an app like Shudder should have. You know, it's like we complain too often about horror movies having jump scares and not feeling like they've had thought put into them. And this really did, because in some ways you can say it's not a horror movie. It's more of a surreal, artistic exploration of someone's mental breakdown, but at the same time that is a horrifying thing. Horror can play mental health can play a big part in horror movies, and it does in this one particularly. I'm just fascinated by how this got made, to be honest, because I can't see Disney signing off on this, but I can't see them having... They did, according to the opening credits, but I can't see them being allowed to make this without Disney being involved. I mean, this is not just a movie tangibly connected. This is actually a movie shot in a Disney location. Actually, a movie shot in Disney location, and actually name-checks Disney, and actually has people who went to Disney Park, which kind of blows my mind too, because how to get them sign off on it. But just strange movie. I mean, definitely recommended. I would say if you want to watch an interesting original horror movie, I would say Escape from Tomorrow is definitely one you should take a chance on Shudder. And now comes the part where I have to throw out a few spoilers, because I need to talk about this movie. I can't talk about Avengers Endgame, so I need to talk about... Well, I probably can when this goes out. I can't when I record it. So I need to talk about this movie. So from 3 minutes, in about 10 seconds, I'll start doing spoilers, okay? Definitely recommend the movie, though. You should watch it. It's very entertaining. And I'll just recap some of the batshit insane stuff. Okay, so spoilers from now on. How to describe this movie in the simplest terms? A man with his family goes to a Disney park, starts flirting with two teenagers of a questionable age, gets cat flu, meets a robot scientist, flirts with a nurse, has sex with a witch, almost loses his kids, gets in a verbal fight with a man, think it's a man in a mobility scooter, loses a toe, and generally just seems to descend into madness. And that's the simplest explanation. The real truth is something messed up in the air that forces him into this. You've got robot scientist who knows about first time this guy ever came to Disney location. Apparently Disney is Siemens, the mobile phone company, is responsible for the upkeep of Disney. Fucking the Epcot ball explodes at one point, and then unexplodes. And there's lots of cuts and scrapes everywhere. So I think it's fair to say this movie, when I said about cuts and scrapes everywhere, it's the official 420 mark of this segment. So that says it all. But yeah, just a very strange movie. It's shot in a very interesting way. There's colour scheme's black and white, which might be a budget thing, but lends it an even more surreal, abstract feel to it. You know, it's like it's trying to do something a bit different. Lots of weird, jarring camera cuts, but in a sort of progressive story way, not just for the sake of it, actually trying to tell a decent story. Some nice cuts at the start, showing faces and horror. Nice way of, it kind of does something that that Blay Awful Truthful Dare movie did, where people's faces change and you see the evil demonic face underneath, but it's done in a more subtle way, a bit less over the top goofy. I'm really up a storm today. Yeah, it's playing with a lot of camera tricks, but in a cool way. Shot very slightly conservatively. The acting is very good all round, actually. Even kids. I mean, the little boy. Sorry, Elliot is just that kid's either naturally looks creepy or he's got really good ability to do creepy eyes. But he's creepy. The dad is. And the parents are both increasingly batshit insane. The dad gets the majority of screen time. I forgot his name. Shit, I always forget names, but he gets bulk of screen time. He has to work for some weird stuff, and just generally the universe around them so weird because it seems being all myths a true thing, where all this weirdness. I mean, you've got teenagers who are actually cats. You've got witches. You've got robots. Yeah, just strange. I mean, I still don't know how Disney approved this, but I am aware of time watching it. Very entertaining movie, very bizarre, avant-garde. And it's the sort of thing, like, I really feel like we should have more of this in horror movies in general. I don't know if this would necessarily play in big cinemas, but it'd be nice to see stuff like this get more of a mainstream shot, you know? I mean, or I would love to have seen this in cinema, to be honest. There's a few bits which might have been quite disorientating in cinema, like close-ups of a half-naked witch having sex with a married man tied to a bed. But at the same time, you know, sometimes you see something bit risque, a bit blue at the cinema, and that doesn't corrupt you entirely. So, yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I thought I don't really understand a lot of it, so it needs a rewatch at some point. But yeah, it's very good. And nice part is even stuff I've mentioned about the spoilers. Like, if you know those going in, it's not really going to change anything. This movie's still going to be quite a trip experience. And actually, in some ways, as much as I praised Woodstock and I thought the tone and the aesthetic of that was very good, this feels a lot more like a drug movie where you've taken some drugs and Woodstock did. I imagine if you got high and watched this, you would be on fucking cloud 967. You know, you start believing a show like Supernatural could be on season 15 next year. But yeah, definitely. I'm very sleep deprived, so maybe it's not quite what I'm portraying it to be. But I think the idea of a movie setting a Disney park, which is this weird, which has, you know, all this shit in it and all this bizarreness, and it's just generally made in a dreamlike fashion and a lot of avant-garde, but also matter-of-fact black and white photography and visualization, and just generally a accurate portrayal of the descent into madness of someone who may have cat flu. I loved it. I thought it was great. So definitely recommend this one. And it seems like we're on the upswing now. After a rocky start, Shudder Mania, we're starting to kick things into next gear, which is very good. And now it's time to discuss or try and figure out what will be on the next edition. Yep, so we're going to go for Aimer tomorrow, which is 2010 French in 87 minutes. So yeah, Aimer is going to be on the next subject movie for Shudder Mania. So until we get to Aimer, remember, find us on Twitter at Friday Night Fright. Find us on all your favourite podcast stations and platforms. And if you want to leave a review, that'd be fantastic. But until next time, remember, life is beautiful.
The past, the present, the future. This is Friday Night's Fright. What the planet is listening to.
Hello, and welcome to Friday Night Fright Shudder Mania, Mal. Today's dose, Rabies, directed by Aharon Kashols. 93 minutes long, made in 2010, and in the Hebrew language, I guess. Cool. When in Rome, or in this case, when in Israel, because this is described as a clever Israeli slasher. A group of people get caught in a serial killer's web. Ooh, there are two siblings who've committed a major sin, 14 athletes, a forest ranger, and two pervy cops. What? Okay. As each of them enters the woods where the psycho lurks, their decisions lead to terror and torment. But this isn't just a standard slasher, ... I think I need to go to reviews. What are the reviews? Oh shit, I've gone off it. What are the reviews like? More info. Oh, there you go. But this isn't just a standard slasher in a foreign tongue. Rabies takes horror conventions and veers away from them and drop the hat, creating a brilliantly twisted thriller and explores how their emotions lie at root cause of even the most brutal violence. Brackets, in Hebrew, with English subtitles. Well, I'm fucking sold. And I'll be right back to recap this and review this or whatever I do, I don't know more, after a word from our sponsors. Hello, so this is Ian Austin, back after a bit of sponsorship, and yes, I just watched Rabies on Shudder, the Israeli slasher horror movie, which is not a slasher horror movie in way you're thinking. It is in some tangible ways, but in other tangible ways it is not. See, the thing is, it's in theory, it's a movie which I think, don't quote me on this, I think it's meant to be an Israeli version of Cabin in Woods or Cabin Fever, which is a slightly knowing wink at some horror conventions, taking aspects of genres and playing with them a little, create something in theory distinct and unique. I wouldn't go as far as say Cabin Fever or Cabin in Woods were distinct or unique. I would say Cabin in Woods is competent, but tends to go into a generic approach when it gets to the actual monsters in question. Cabin Fever is more Eli Roth trying to go back to that feel of 1980s horror movies that he grew up on, and that were indeed considered trashy but enjoyable. Whereas Rabies is not really either of those. It doesn't really know exactly what it wants to be. It has a good idea of what it doesn't want to be, which is a movie about characters who have rabies. Because while it does have aspects of that, it doesn't commit to it quite where you'd want it to. Best example of this is the fact that in theory, the movie's villain is a serial killer. And there's aspects of that, but it's not really dwelled upon where you'd expect. And it's also not played for laughs. It's played quite straight and seriously, which is odd because it jars with the nature of material around that. Indeed, when you have characters saying that one of the sexiest things he can imagine is watching a woman pee, and then later on in the movie you get a medium close-up of a woman squatting down to pee, you are entering into a weird dynamic of movie where it's trying to be funny or clever and it's not really succeeding both, and that's fine. Not all movies have to be clever or funny. Not all movies that try and be funny and or clever have to be. Sometimes it's enough to try, but at the same time, if you try too much, you enter into that Peter and Wolf aesthetic of you're raising too much hype, more hype than the movie is capable of monitoring. I will say it's not badly shot or acted, although it was hard to get grasp of who characters were and why I should care. And indeed, this was definitely one of those movies where in background, for the sake of transparency, I was doing almost everything other than watching the movie, because it wasn't grabbing me where it intended or where I hoped it had when I read the synopsis earlier, which happens, you know. unfortunately, we live in an age where sometimes it's hard to focus entirely on a movie, especially when you go watch it for 90 minutes. You can watch it, you can get into it to a degree, but if it's not hooking you, you are naturally going, or in my case, I am naturally going to look for other things to gravitate to, because there's not enough time to do everything you want to do, and particularly when forced to watch 90 minutes of an Israeli horror movie that you're not particularly enjoying, you are going to start focusing on other things. But that's my lot in life. So that's fair enough. What I will say is that at least this movie had some interesting ideas in theory and some in practice, although I found some of the weirdness with regards to how rapey the two police officers were. Oh no, spoiler warning, but if you listen to this, you want my opinion of the movie anyway. I found them to be particularly creepy and disturbing, and yes, I'm sure that's how it's intended, but at the same time, watching it, all I can think of is why would you put these actresses through that? You know, and it's not like they're doing it to make some greater point or something like that. It's just a scene in a movie that's written to have a cop reach under a woman's skirt and force her to nearly cry. And again, yes, I know it's acting, it didn't actually happen. But at the same time, someone wrote that, someone came up with that idea, someone shot it, and someone asked people to act it. And I find, especially watching stuff like Devil's Rejects, I don't find that entertaining. I find that to be exploitative. And at the same time, exploitative isn't necessarily bad per se, because there's lots of exploitation movies, but I get the impression everyone going into those movies knows the sort of movie they're making, and I don't get that impression here. I don't think anyone had any idea exactly what movie they're making. I also think the dichotomy between the title being rabies and slasher and serial killer, it was never able to flow connectly between those different aspects. If you want to make a movie about characters getting rabies, make that. If you want to make a movie about slasher, serial killer, make that. Try and combine them both. You're trying to do too much, and it really doesn't work because neither aspect works the way it should, because it's too ingrained in the other aspects. It goes back to X-Men Days of Future. It goes back to X-Men 3, The Last Stand, when they're trying to do the Jean Grey story and Mutant Cure story at the same time. Two great ideas for movies, but when you throw them together, it's not going to work the way you intend. And indeed, in this movie, it doesn't. It also doesn't have any particularly memorable characters. You can talk about two police officers, but they're less memorable than creepy. And also, it's not funny. It's trying, I think, to be funny, but it's failing. It's not as amusing as it should be. Not as sharp as it should be. The fact that the movie asserts that it's clever, well, I disagree strongly with that. I don't think it's very clever. I think it's trying to be, but it's saying also trying to be fine. You can fail, make a flawed masterpiece. Like, for example, I think Annalise Hulk is a flawed masterpiece because it tries and it fails, but God bless it, it tries. This tries and fails, but I never feel like it's properly reaching for the song like Superman reaching for energy, you know? You don't feel like it's reaching for it. You feel like it's kind of reaches up a bit and then gives up, you know? You either have to go full out and try and make a masterpiece and fail, or don't try. Just make something simple and complex, simple and entertaining and trashy. And going back to my point I made earlier about this feeling like VHS movie, VHS segment stretching into a long movie, it really does. And this underscores why something like VHS is actually a bit underappreciated, and I was a bit harsh on it in my reviews even, and my retrospective. Sorry, go on. Because it knew to keep this stuff short and concise, and this drags out for as long as possible with loads of characters, none of who are particularly memorable, and then at the end it just sort of stops and it ends in a very anticlimactic way. In fact, it starts with two characters who you don't see much throughout the movie, and then ends with those characters. And you don't feel like they've learned anything or grown or anything like that. And okay, not all characters need to grow in horror movies, I understand that. But lack of a structure in this movie doesn't feel like an aesthetic choice. It feels like it's just something which they were unable to figure out how to do. No, Murder is not a structured movie in terms of having a specific 3-act. It does have 3-act structure, but in terms of characterization, things like that, not quite. what they're intending, or not quite that sort of tight structure. And yet, it's aesthetically and totally so annoying. Putting myself to sleep, Jesus Christ. Aesthetically, it's something interesting. Same for Woodshop. Not necessarily great movies, but they try and do something interesting. This is trying to jam two genres together and not really succeeding. So would I recommend Rabies? Not really. I mean, it's always good to watch horror movies from different countries. I'm not a big multicultural foreign horror guy, but I can appreciate them. And I feel like this was at least an interesting experiment to watch. I don't know if I'd watch it again. I doubt it. I'd probably go for a 2.5 stars out of 5. But it was okay. But what I will say is hopefully tomorrow's movie, Prom Night. Now that's what I'm excited for. But that'll have to be safe for next time. And remember,